Increasingly, Ukraine has been producing its own weapons. It has a very large and growing defense industry, some of it financed from abroad, with a lot of cooperation from Western defense companies. So probably about half the weapons which Ukraine is now using are provided by its own defense industry. And of the remainder, it's about half and half between the United States and the others, including the Europeans. But there are some systems where the Ukrainians are pretty dependent on the Americans. And I think we'll see what this decision means in practice, but I think there are concerns that the United States will also block the supply of American weapons, which are in European arsenals or indeed other arsenals. And of course, the United States military personnel are deeply embedded in the logistical arrangements which actually get the weapons from Poland into Ukraine. So there's a lot to think about. And finally, the US plays a very important role in providing information intelligence to the Ukrainian forces from its satellites and so on. And it's not yet clear whether that will be cut off. So we're only at the beginning of this story, but it's a very dramatic move by the United States. There was, it appears, no consultation with any American allies on this, even though weapon supplies to Ukraine have been a joint effort from the very beginning, coordinated now by the UK, but US personnel playing a key role in that. So it is a big step. It's hard to, with this move and all the things we've been hearing over the last 2 weeks, to not draw the conclusion that the United States, in a space of less than 2 months, has moved from being a very strong supporter of Ukraine through painting itself as a mediator to now, I think, in a position where it's a lot more sympathetic to Russia's case than it is to Ukraine. And that's really got remarkable consequences for Ukraine, but also for Europe as a whole. I think the most important way Ukraine has prepared for this is building up its own capability. Historically, Ukraine was at the heart of the Soviet defense industry, and quite a lot of that capacity and skill base remained even after the end of the Cold War. And with quite a bit of Western assistance, Ukraine is a war economy, and it's developing its defense industry. A lot of people working in the Ukrainian defense industry as well as in its frontline armed forces, and they're innovating at an incredible rate because of the pressure they're under. They don't have many of the regulatory burdens our defense industry does here in the UK and in Europe. So that's very impressive, and that will continue to be the case. Ukraine is not Afghanistan before the Taliban took over. It's fighting the war by itself with support from others, but there are no foreign troops troops from foreign countries on the front line on the Ukrainian side, although there are on the Russian side, of course. And I think they will survive for quite some time, but so Europeans are stepping up to the plate, but the American pressure, it appears, is going to increase. The next announcement people are fearing is the United States lifting some of the sanctions against Russia. And all this, of course, suspending military aid, lifting sanctions, very clearly President Trump stating that he believes Russia is prepared to do a deal in the bloc as Ukraine. All this adds up to a position where the Europeans are, I think, going to be under considerable diplomatic pressure to toe the American line, and we shall see how that ends up. I mean, I think in the short term, I don't think he'll make an enormous difference because Ukraine does have stockpiles of all sorts of things, and the Russians are finding it very difficult in the front line. A lot will depend on what's covered by the American suspension. Will they suspend all technical assistance to Ukraine? That would have a more dramatic, more rapid impact than simply stopping the pipeline of arms. And then over time, the impact will be greater. but so also will be the time available for others to at least partially step into the breach. And Ukraine is a massive country. Russian military capability is not unlimited. The Ukrainians will fight hard. So I think with strong European support and clear European defiance of the United States on this, and indeed other parts of the world as well, like Australia and Canada, I think will come in on the Ukrainian side. The Ukrainians can last for some time to come, and